What if I told you that the greatest force controlling your life isn't your job, your past, your circumstances, or even other people, but something happening inside your own mind right now? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might challenge the way you see yourself, your decisions, and your entire life. Most people believe they are in control. They believe their thoughts are their own. They believe the limits they feel are real. But what if those limits were quietly planted, repeated, and reinforced until they felt like truth? What if fear, doubt, distraction, and hesitation were not random, but part of a pattern that keeps people stuck, small, and predictable? Look around. So many people have dreams, but never act. They have potential, but never use it. They want more, but settle for less. And the question is, why? Why do people stop themselves before they even begin? Why do they delay the very actions that could change their lives? Why do they accept a version of life far below what they're capable of? The answer is deeper than motivation. It's deeper than discipline. It's about understanding the hidden forces that shape your thinking, influence your decisions, and quietly control your direction without you even realizing it. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you understand it, you can't go back to thinking the same way. And most importantly, once you take control of your mind, everything changes. So if you're ready to break free from invisible limits, reclaim your focus, and unlock a level of clarity and power most people never reach, then don't skip a second of this. This might be the message that changes everything. Control through fear operates as one of the most subtle yet powerful influences over the human mind, shaping behavior without the individual fully realizing it. Fear does not usually appear in dramatic or obvious forms. Instead, it quietly enters through everyday thoughts. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, and even fear of success. These fears begin as small doubts, but when repeated consistently, they grow into deeply rooted mental patterns that influence decisions, limit actions, and weaken confidence. A person under the influence of fear often convinces themselves that they are being realistic or cautious, when in truth they are being controlled by imagined outcomes that have not even occurred. This creates a mental environment where risk feels dangerous, change feels uncomfortable, and growth feels threatening. Over time, fear distorts perception, making opportunities appear as risks and challenges seem like permanent obstacles. It pushes individuals to seek safety over progress, comfort over achievement, and approval over authenticity. Fear also feeds on uncertainty, constantly projecting worst-case scenarios that discourage action and reinforce hesitation. When a person begins to listen to these internal fears repeatedly, they start building a belief system around limitation, accepting that they are not capable, not ready, or not worthy. This belief system becomes self-reinforcing, as inaction leads to missed opportunities, which then confirms the original fear. Additionally, fear is often amplified by external influences such as negative environments, critical voices, and societal expectations, which further validate and strengthen its presence. The longer fear is entertained, the more authority it gains over the mind, eventually dictating choices, habits, and even identity. It thrives in passivity and grows stronger when not challenged, turning potential into regret and ambition into doubt. In this state, individuals may feel as though they are making their own decisions, but in reality, those decisions are being filtered through layers of fear that limit clarity and courage. Fear does not need to force control. It simply needs to suggest enough doubt for the mind to surrender its power voluntarily. Negative habits develop gradually, often unnoticed, CED, yet they hold a powerful influence over the mind by shaping thought patterns and emotional responses through repetition. The human brain is designed to adapt and automate behaviors, which means whatever is repeated consistently, whether positive or negative, eventually becomes a default way of thinking. When an individual repeatedly entertains thoughts of doubt, worry, criticism, or defeat, those thoughts begin to feel natural and automatic rather than optional. Over time, this repetition creates a mental loop where negativity no longer requires effort. It becomes the mind's first response to situations. These habits are not always obvious actions, but are often internal patterns such as overthinking, expecting the worst, comparing oneself to others, or focusing only on limitations. Each time these patterns are reinforced, they strengthen neural pathways, making it easier for the mind to return to them again and again. This creates a cycle where negative thinking feeds negative emotions, and those emotions then reinforce the same thinking patterns. As a result, the individual begins to interpret reality through a distorted lens, seeing obstacles where opportunities exist and feeling incapable even when they have the potential to succeed. Negative habits also influence behavior, leading to procrastination, avoidance, and a lack of initiative, which further confirms the belief that progress is difficult or unattainable. What makes these habits particularly powerful is that they often operate below conscious awareness, meaning the individual may believe their thoughts are accurate reflections of reality rather than conditioned responses. External influences such as environment, social circles, and past experiences can accelerate the formation of these habits, especially when negativity is consistently reinforced from outside sources. The longer these patterns persist, the more deeply they become embedded in identity, making change feel difficult and uncomfortable. This mental conditioning limits creativity, reduces resilience, and weakens the ability to take decisive action as the mind continuously defaults to familiar negative responses instead of exploring new possibilities or perspectives. A lack of purpose creates a mental state where direction is unclear, making the mind highly vulnerable to outside influence and internal confusion. When an individual does not have a clearly defined goal or a strong sense of why they are doing what they do, their thoughts and actions become scattered, reactive, and easily shaped by circumstances rather than intention. Without purpose, there is no internal compass to guide decisions, so choices are often based on convenience, emotion, or the opinions of others. This absence of direction leads to a passive mindset, where a person drifts through life instead of actively shaping it, allowing external forces such as trends, social pressure, and dominant voices to take control of their thinking. In such a state, the mind seeks structure and meaning, and if it is not created consciously, it is adopted unconsciously from the environment. This makes individuals more likely to follow the crowd, accept limiting beliefs, and settle for paths that do not align with their true potential. A person without purpose often struggles with consistency, as there is no deeper motivation driving their actions, leading to cycles of starting and stopping, enthusiasm, and burnout. This inconsistency weakens self-discipline and reinforces the belief that progress is difficult or unattainable. Additionally, a lack of purpose amplifies feelings of uncertainty and doubt, as the mind constantly questions direction without finding clear answers. This creates mental fatigue, reducing the ability to focus and make confident decisions. Over time, the individual may become more comfortable with staying in familiar routines, even if those routines do not lead to growth or fulfillment, because uncertainty feels more threatening. Then stagnation. External validation begins to replace internal clarity, causing self-worth to depend on approval rather than personal standards. This dependence further strengthens external control, as the individual becomes more influenced by what others expect or believe. Without a defined purpose, time and energy are often spent on activities that do not contribute to meaningful progress, creating a sense of being busy but not truly moving forward. The mind, lacking a clear destination, becomes open to distraction, easily pulled toward temporary pleasures and short-term comfort instead of long-term growth. The influence of environment plays a powerful and often underestimated role in shaping the way a person thinks, behaves, and ultimately perceives reality. Every individual is constantly absorbing signals from their surroundings, including the attitudes, beliefs, conversations, and expectations of the people they interact with daily. These external inputs gradually form an internal framework that guides decision-making, often without conscious awareness. When a person is consistently exposed to negativity, doubt, criticism, or limitation, those elements begin to feel normal, even if they are not true or beneficial. Over time, the mind starts to mirror what it repeatedly encounters, adopting similar patterns of thinking and responding. This process is subtle, as it does not require direct instruction. Simply being present in a certain environment is enough to influence beliefs and behaviors. Social circles, family dynamics, workplace culture, and even digital content all contribute to this conditioning, reinforcing specific perspectives while filtering out others. As a result, a person may begin to accept certain limitations as facts, not because they have tested them, but because they have heard or seen them repeatedly. The environment also shapes emotional responses, as individuals tend to align their energy with those around them, absorbing stress, fear, or complacency if those are dominant in their surroundings. This alignment can affect confidence, ambition, and the willingness to take risks, often discouraging growth in favor of conformity. In many cases, individuals may not even realize that their thoughts are influenced by external factors, believing that their mindset is entirely self-created when it is actually a reflection of their environment. The longer someone remains in a limiting environment, the more deeply these patterns become embedded, making it difficult to think independently or challenge existing beliefs. This can lead to a cycle where the environment reinforces certain behaviors, and those behaviors in turn strengthen the connection to that environment. Without awareness, a person may continue to operate within these boundaries, unknowingly restricting their own potential by accepting the limits imposed by their surroundings. Procrastination and doubt work together as a powerful internal mechanism that weakens action and gradually erodes confidence, making it easier for the mind to fall into patterns of inaction and hesitation. Procrastination often disguises itself as harmless delay, a belief that there is always more time or a better moment to begin, but beneath that surface lies a deeper resistance driven by uncertainty and fear of outcomes. Doubt fuels this resistance by questioning ability, readiness, and worth, creating a mental conflict where the desire to act is constantly interrupted by hesitation. This combination prevents momentum from building, as each delay reinforces the idea that action is difficult or uncomfortable. Over time, the habit of postponing decisions and avoiding challenges becomes automatic, shaping behavior in a way that prioritizes short-term comfort over long-term progress. The mind begins to seek immediate relief from pressure, rather than embracing the discomfort required for growth, which strengthens the cycle of delay. Doubt amplifies this process by continuously presenting negative possibilities, making tasks appear more complex or risky than they truly are. This leads to overthinking, where energy is spent analyzing instead of acting, creating the illusion of productivity while actual progress remains stagnant. As procrastination continues, opportunities are missed, and this lack of progress becomes evidence that supports the initial doubt, forming a self-reinforcing loop. Confidence declines because it is built through action and achievement, both of which are reduced when tasks are repeatedly delayed. External pressures, such as deadlines or expectations, may temporarily force action, but without breaking the underlying pattern, the cycle quickly returns. The longer this pattern persists, the more it shapes identity, causing individuals to label themselves as unmotivated or incapable, even though the root issue lies in conditioned behavior rather than true ability. This internal struggle can create frustration and guilt, further draining mental energy and making it even harder to take decisive action, while the mind continues to default to avoidance and hesitation as its primary response to challenges. The power of awareness serves as the turning point where unconscious patterns lose their influence and the mind begins to regain control over its own direction. Awareness is not merely noticing thoughts on the surface, but deeply recognizing how those thoughts are formed, repeated, and allowed to shape behavior over time. Most mental control operates effectively because it remains hidden, functioning beneath conscious attention where habits, fears, and external influences quietly dictate responses. When awareness is absent, individuals tend to accept their thoughts as absolute truth, rarely questioning their origin or validity. However, the moment a person becomes aware of these internal patterns, a separation begins to form between the thinker and the thought, creating space for choice rather than automatic reaction. This shift disrupts the cycle of unconscious behavior, as patterns that once operated effortlessly now require attention to continue. Awareness exposes fear as a constructed response rather than an unavoidable reality, reveals negative habits as learned behaviors rather than fixed traits, and highlights how environment and repetition have shaped beliefs over time. This clarity weakens the grip of limiting influences because control relies heavily on invisibility. Once something is seen clearly, it becomes more difficult to be controlled by it. Through awareness, individuals begin to observe how they respond to challenges, how they interpret situations, and how they justify inaction, allowing them to identify patterns that previously went unnoticed. This process does not immediately eliminate those patterns, but it interrupts their automatic nature, reducing their power over decision-making. As awareness deepens, it strengthens intentional thinking, enabling individuals to question whether a thought is useful, accurate, or aligned with their desired direction. This creates the ability to consciously replace limiting patterns with more constructive ones, gradually reshaping the mind through deliberate choice rather than passive conditioning. Awareness also increases sensitivity to external influences, making it easier to recognize how conversations, environments, and information impact mental states, which supports more selective engagement with those influences. Over time, this continuous observation builds mental discipline, As the individual becomes more consistent in choosing responses rather than reacting impulsively, shifting from being controlled by patterns to actively guiding thoughts and actions with clarity and intention. In the end, the greatest battle is never outside. It is always within the mind. Every fear, every negative habit, every moment of doubt, every influence from the environment, and every delay in action works together only when they remain unnoticed, CDED, and unchallenged. The control is not forced, it is accepted through unconscious patterns, repeated thoughts, and a lack of clear direction. But the moment awareness enters, everything begins to shift. When you start questioning your thoughts, choosing your influences, defining your purpose, and taking action despite fear, you break the cycle that holds most people back. The mind that once followed can now lead, and the same power that allowed control can be used to create freedom, growth, and success. True strength is not about avoiding these forces, but understanding them so deeply that they no longer have authority over your decisions or your future. Good luck on your journey to mastering your mind and taking control of your life. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your willingness to grow.